Hey guys, Malkuth 1974 coming back at ya. Got another episode up here. We're gonna get an SSTO. We're gonna build it from scratch. Right now I'm gonna show you a version that I already built, which is based off a one-man version, 1.5 millimeter rockets. What a SSTO is a single stage to orbit vessel, meaning you don't lose any pieces of your vessel trying to get it to orbit. So I'm gonna show you how this baby works. It runs off rocket engines. And I'm doing this again post-recording just because it's a little bit easier. I can speed it up. This video was almost like 2 hours long, so I had to shorten it quite a bit. This is able to get into orbit. It could and it can hook up with my space station in orbit too. My space station's at 140 meters, which is quite high for a space station, which makes it very difficult for me to get vessels up there. So SSTOs are extremely difficult for me to do, so I have to do burns a little bit special and try to get the speed up. But I already had the kinks worked out of this one, but this is basically how it works. It's getting to orbit, nothing major, same way you would everything else, just you're not going to lose your rockets, and just checking where everything is, trying to get this up here. Doing some different things here. Basically how you launch a regular rocket, just you're not losing your stages or anything like that. I'm gonna probably aim for 80 here. I'm not gonna do the whole thing. I'm just gonna show you guys. Look at my fuel and look at where my staging is going and watch how. Well, okay, you guys get the point. So let's just start on building this thing. Again, this is a 3-man pod, so it's a lot heavier, so it's going to be a lot harder to work. I'm going to put some advanced SAS in there, and this fuel tank, we'll try it with this one to see if it'll work or not. The biggest problem with this, of course, is that everything is a lot heavier, so the rocket engines have to work a lot harder to get these into space. Right now, I'm looking for how I'm going to do the last burn of this. So I'm looking for the adapter to add two engines to it. So I put one there. Those are the just regular default engines that I'm adding there. And now I'm going to start adding the actual jet engines, and that use air and intakes and everything else. So to get that going, try to get this thing to get on there. Oh, I like to start everything off with a single pylon. Just build the first one first, get it on there. Yeah, that looks good. We'll go with that. Yeah, let's go get the jet engine now. There it is. And now, like I always do, I'm going to pull it off and put it on, and I'm going to add 6 of them to it at first. See if this can get anywhere in there. And we're going to add the air intakes to it. These are the best air intakes to use. Don't use any other ones. Use these ones. They're the best ones that you can use for the whole game. I'm going to add a docking port up there for we can dock with a space station if I ever get it up there. And I'm thinking, maybe I should add some monopropellant. But then I'm remembering that I've gotten so good at docking now that I don't usually need a whole lot of monopropellant to actually get me to dock like I used to. I can pretty much do it easily now, where I'm not, spamming monopropellant, and it saves me weight on my actual vessel. And that's something important we got to do. Right now I'm looking at the center of mass where I can add the thrusters, the monopropellant thrusters there, for we can actually maneuver our vessel while it's in space, in the vacuum of space. And I'm also going to add fuel lines from those tanks to the middle tank. Right now the rockets are hooked to regular fuel tanks, so those contain both liquid propellant and oxidizer, which the jet engine doesn't actually use. So I want to be able to have as much fuel in that middle tank, because those two engines will actually suck up energy like there was no tomorrow. And of course, this is a return vessel, so we need some parachutes on there to help slow us down when we actually land, and I got the landing gear on there. And I'm kind of messing around with this thing right now to oh, don't forget to add those. There we go. I'm gonna bring it down a little bit, click it, and I think it's time to test this thing out. Of course, what I'm gonna name it first. Of course, what I wasn't showing is that I actually went back in and I actually set up the key configurations, because you want your engines to be controllable by the key. Your you know, if you press 1, you want your jet engines to shut off, and you want your air intakes to actually shut off too. So that's something you really want to control. And what I noticed on this is that this thing is actually extremely unstable, because what I forgot to do is I forgot to add struts to the engines to hold them in. So they're basically, it's hard to see, but they're actually shaking around, and it causes it to twist and turn. But we'll see how far we can. What I want to test right now is to see how far these engines can get before they kick out, or they lose enough air. They lose air to kick the engines out. So I want to see how high I can get this thing before, you know, this is just testing. I don't even plan on getting to orbit here. I just want to see how high it gets to it with just these air intakes on there. And what I've been doing, you can see the engines flexing every time I use them. It's kind of funny, but every time I take off, I want to get as much speed as possible, and the only way to really do that with these is to actually start your gravity turn as quickly as possible. You can take off straight up to start doing it about do your gravity turn at 10,000, but it's just, you're gonna waste so much energy, so much jet fuel getting up there. If you guys are noticing, I'm using the jet engines, the actual rocket engines, to keep my speed going up faster, you know, just to help supplement the actual jet engines. And we're at about, what, 13,000 now, I'm wondering. And I'm also looking at my air intake value over there, and it's dropping pretty rapidly, and I'm guessing it's going to start going out around 16,000, maybe 17, maybe 8. Oh, there we go. So right at 18,000, the jet engines quit out. I'm not quite happy with that, so what I want to do is I want to add some more air intakes to these. So I'm going to go into aerodynamics, and I'm going to grab the other kind of air intakes. Now, what I found with these, oops, I missed them there. Where'd they go? Oh, one thing I want to do right now is I want to fix the strut problem I have. So I definitely want to secure these engines for I'm not getting that twist anymore, and the rocket is as stable as it possibly can. Because if you don't have a stable rocket, you don't have you're gonna lose energy. And with an SSTO of any kind, you don't want to be losing energy, because you need all your energy. It's very hard to get these in space. Basically, when you do get into space, you have so little fuel left to actually do what you want to do that there's not much wiggle room to do with these. And the more weight you add to it, the harder it is to get up there, or you know, you're gonna get past that point where you're not gonna actually do very well with these engines. So here I go, I'm adding the air intakes. Of course, again, like I said, this whole recording was like 2 to 3 hours of actual me testing this design out, trying to get it in space. Everything is going faster than normally it would go, just because we don't want to. I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to watch 3 hours of me testing a vessel. So, you know, this is the complete 3 hours in like 23 minutes. So, just bear with it. And I'm just gonna cut to where I launched, got it in space. I want to see how high I can get it. We're gonna get to that 18,000 mark, and we want to get by it. And of course, it's all relative to your speed too. So the faster you're going, the actual more your engines are gonna be able to stay on. And there they go. They kick out at about 20,500. And right now, and I actually caught it that time, so I'm gonna actually see if I can get this into space right now. And I'm basically not happy with how close my apoapis is actually to me. I really would like it a little bit farther away, for I can close the distance and get some more speed. And at this point, I'm looking at my, if you look at my fuel gauge up there, I'm just about to go under 1,000, and I'm only at 35,000 feet. And I'm thinking to myself that this still isn't going to get into space. It's going to get me, I can get into orbit with this, but I won't be able to actually stabilize the orbit, and I won't be able to actually get to the space station, because you still need some fuel to actually get to your space station. So, I'm thinking, great. So I'm going to have to add more fuel to this, which is going to make it even heavier, which is going to cause all kinds of problems. But let me just see what I can do here. We'll get her up there. See, I'm already at 300 fuel, and you see how fast it's going down. I know just from this point of view that I will not have enough to stabilize it. And I think I'm going to test right here to see how much delta V it's going to cost me to actually get my periapus up to make a stable orbit. Yep, that's what I'm doing. And I'm looking, and I'm looking at the number. It's like 547. I know I don't have enough to do it, so I'm going to go back to the drawing board, and I'm going to decide, well, you know what? Let's switch this around, and I actually add more jet engines this time to it. So if you know, I went from 6 to, I should have 8 there. Yeah, 1, 2. Yeah, so there's 8 jet engines now. I actually tested that design, didn't like it, still had issues. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually just grabbing just liquid fuel. There's one tank that's like that, with you just have liquid fuel in it. There's no oxidization. It's much lighter than the other version. It's almost one whole mass lighter than everything else. So I'm thinking, well, I'll try this, see if I know in the top of my head that what's going to happen is I'm going to actually run out of oxidizer now. I'm going to have more fuel than oxidizer. So, yeah. So it's I really wish they had tanks where you could just put what you want in the tank. If I just want oxidizer, or I want a certain mixture of oxidization versus fuel, it would make this so much simpler for everybody building these. So what usually happens with an SSTO is that you either have too much fuel left over and not enough oxidization, or you have way too much oxidization and not enough fuel, and of course that adds weight. So if you have, at the end of, when you run out of liquid fuel, if you still have 500 oxidization left, that's a huge amount of weight that you have left over on your ship that is wasted, that you can't use. So I'm doing a little test right here. I have the expanded pack in here. It's a mod. That's what I just did. So I just added oxidization to my vessel, which I'm hoping will supplement what will be left of the liquid fuel when I finally start doing my final burn. But what I've found with these extra tanks is that they do not actually, they won't go into, you have to manually put them into the tanks, and you just don't have time to do that. And I ended up actually adding some fuel lines to see if that would work, and that still wouldn't work. So yeah, eventually I didn't like how this design worked, but we'll see how it goes here. We'll try to get it up there. If you can tell right now, the same problem I was just telling you guys about, I have oxidization and I have liquid fuel. But my liquid fuel now is a lot more than my oxidization. I'm going to actually run out of oxidization before I actually run out of liquid fuel. And that is just no good. And I'm not even in space yet, and I'm pretty much, my oxidation is just dying right now. There ain't nothing I can do, and there it goes. I didn't even make it into space with this design. So yeah, and I'm wondering why. Oh, and I'm just checking those tanks, and I was wondering why they weren't working. So here we go. We're gonna get rid of this thing. I'm gonna go back to the old design with the old tanks and see what's going on. Oh, I gotta take these little things off because it's actually gonna interfere with putting anything on there. There we go. Back to the drawing board. Let's get those tanks back. There we go. Of course, I'm gonna hit the X key. I'm having issues trying to make this click. I'm like, why isn't this clicking? There's nothing there to stop it. Why? Oh, sometimes it's very frustrating to get things to work in Kerbal Space Program, but it is an alpha, so we can't complain too. I'm looking around to see why it's not clicking, and oh, there it goes. Oh, it wants a certain way it wants to go on there. So I'm like, I don't know about that. So I'm gonna mess around with it some more, try to get these tanks to go back on there. There we go. Yeah. Whatever. We'll just keep it like that. Oh, look, everything works. I gotta rehook the fuel lines up and restrut it. All that fun stuff. Oh, I didn't like that. Oh! Don't you guys hate it when you do that? When you accidentally grab what you don't want to grab and it pulls everything off, and now I'm gonna fight with this for God knows how long. Oh, we just fixed it. Oh, now my air intakes are the wrong way. But we'll fix it. There we go. Fuel lines to the middle. Now what do we need to add? Oh, we need to strut her up to stabilize this vessel for we don't cause any more problems. We're gonna get this sucker to space this time, I'm telling you. Add that to it. And I'm gonna add that to it. Put those back on there. There we go. Oh, I gotta fix this. Remember, I have most of the engine stuff keyframe to a certain key. And what am I doing? Oh, I'm going to add another fuel. I'm going to say, screw this. I'm getting to space. This is going to actually make the vessel much heavier. But there's no other way to get to space with this thing at this point. So, and I'm still trying to keep everything stock. You know, I don't want to use too many on... Actually, this whole vessel right now is stock. You can build this vessel stock. I'm not using any parts that are not actually part of the game. So right now what I'm doing is, since I have all these pieces, what tends to happen, I'm thinking more of the way of landing this thing. What tends to happen when you open your parachutes, it loves to rip your ship apart. And I'm seeing, well, maybe if I, and of course I'm now you can see me actually adding how I'm doing the keys here. Putting everything under one key plus everything else. Spooling up the engines. Here we go. Wait until they get to a certain thrust. I usually wait till about 100. I hit the space bar. I should be hitting the space bar. Come on now, there we go. If you're wondering why those explode like that, that's part of Romfar's mod, which I don't really like it. I'm actually thinking about uninstalling everything Romfar just because I can't stand those things exploding. I'm not really using anything in there, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I keep saying I'm gonna uninstall it, but I don't know. So as you can tell, I got a gravity turn going here. Again, this is the only reason I'm doing this is to see if I just can get the speed up quicker than normal. And you know, and a lot of times when you're launching a regular rocket and you're going straight up, you don't want to get to a certain speed because you don't want to fight gravity. But I'm fighting a fuel source right now, so with the jet engines going right now, I'm not so worried about fighting gravity, more of getting my speed up to a certain level where by the time I get to 20,000 feet and turn my engines on, I'm already got a massive speed advantage to help get me into orbit. So that's the whole thing about SSTOs. You gotta manage the speed and your height, and it's a lot of work to get an SSTO into space. It's more work than actually a rocket. But of course, the benefit of it is that it's cheaper to get it up into space because you're not expending rocket parts and you're using a lot less fuel to do it. Of course, in reality, if Kerbal Space Program was the perfect program, this design would not work at all because it couldn't even get into space, because you need something that's like in the humans or the NASA, you know, you have to have something that is aerodynamically correct to get it into space. And of course, we don't have heat reentry, and this thing actually trying to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere should, or even the Kerbin atmosphere, should, in actual all fairness, actually disintegrate because there's no heat shield. So in all reality, SSTOs like this are pretty much impossible. But since the limitations of Kerbal Space Program right now allow us to do it, we are going to do it. We gotta go to greater heights to get these things going. So I'm being quite happy right now. It's looking good. When's my engine gonna kick out? Oh, I'm wondering. I'm gonna shut this engine off. I'm gonna shut these jet engines off about 20,000. And there we go. So now the rocket engines are full on. Still not liking my Apparatus right now, but I'm gonna make some adjustments here. I'm gonna try to follow it. What I'm trying to do is I don't want it to get away from me right now, because you don't want to be too flat and not gain altitude, and you also don't want it coming back at you. So what you're seeing there, if you see the Kerbin Apparatus, it says 33,000. It's growing pretty good, but if you see the T sign, it says T. What that means is that I'm 31 seconds away from reaching my Apparatus. So what I'm doing is I don't want it to grow too much, but I also want my speed to get up there. And I'm also looking up at my fuel, and I'm going, oh my god, my fuel is going down. If you can tell, it's going down pretty damn quick. But I am liking what I'm seeing. All I need to get into orbit, really, at this point, I can fine-tune this thing. If I can get this into an 80,000 meter orbit, I will be happy. I'm looking at my fuel. If you look at my oxidizer, it's absolutely crazy compared to that. See, which is the problem. We need to be able to control our fuel. So I'm already in technically my Apparatus is already in the orbit. I'm at 80,000. I'm happy. I got plenty of fuel. I got 413 liquid fuel left. I'm like, yes, I can definitely get this thing into orbit. I can definitely, I can definitely get into a stable orbit with that much fuel at 80,000. I'm also thinking to myself that, well, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to bring it up higher. I have enough fuel to get this thing to at least 100 meters. And I'm definitely going to do this. We can see how much it actually cost me to get this to 100 and 100. There we go. 230. I definitely have enough fuel to do that. I have 210 liquid fuel left. Yeah, it'll leave me probably around 90 to 80 liquid fuel left after this burn. I'm doing all this in my head. I mean, I'm not perfect at this stuff, but we'll see. Let's see if I'm on. If I'm about right. Oh, well, I was a little bit off. It's actually 56. Believe it or not, that is still enough to deorbit at this height. And I most likely could intercept my space station if I wanted to. I'm still not happy with how much fuel I have left. Because remember, in all actuality, all I need to do is get to my space station, top off the fuel to, like maybe 200, and it'll be able to deorbit where I want to. At this point where I have this set up, it's not enough to deorbit where I want to. But we got it in space. That's how I build my ships, guys. 3 hours of testing and everything else. So this is Malkuth 1974. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you later. Have a good day.